We embarked on this journey of building this trailer starting last fall, and it continued primarily this spring. I really dove in and finished most of it. And summer came along and it was perfect. We had an opportunity to get out and take it places. What I had envisioned for this trailer was a travel trailer with some camping, and could be off-grid. We could go wherever we wanted, but we weren't envisioning getting out into difficult to access dispersed camping here in Colorado. But when COVID came along, things kind of changed. We were limited more to Colorado. We weren't exploring the West as much, and everybody had the same exact idea to go up in the mountains. And it became harder and harder to find campsites. And so we find ourselves leaving earlier and racing up into the mountains, and we find ourselves going further in looking for decent campsites. And we've found some beautiful ones. But the trailer has really been tested. And today I want to talk about the things that didn't quite work so well, and the things that I'm looking at and I need to reinforce or redo. Some of those things are because of the constant shaking. In fact, the last two roads we were on were really rough. One was just really washboarded and just vibrated us to death going down the road, and the trailer behind, when we got there, we could see a few things that had shifted, like every pillow was all over the place. And for the most part, it's held up really well, but there's a couple things I'll show you. And then the second to last trip was just a really rough road, just big rocks and boulders all over, just kind of jarring the thing around. And so I've got a list of things I'm going to show you, and we're going to fix them. And we'll go through it step by step. I'm going to do this over the next day or two. With that in mind, let's start down on the list. The first thing that needs to be fixed is this. It's been fun. I know I plastered this mustache over my first couple of videos, and it was just kind of a ridiculous thing I started doing when the lockdown started, and it kind of got a mind of its own. I even bought mustache wax and everything, but it's driving me a bit nuts. And more importantly, it's driving my wife nuts. So it's time for the mustache and facial hair to go. And with that in mind, let's get rid of it. That's so much better. I can feel my face. I even gave myself a haircut, which, you know, I'm relatively flexible, but that's not easy. I miss you, Raquel. Eventually I'll be able to come back and get my hair cut. But I think I did an okay job. I'm just not gonna let you see the back. All right, so let's talk about the first thing. And that is gonna be this. So, this is the drawer that, if you'll recall, was underneath one of the dinette seats. I made it out of 80/20. I'm honestly not entirely sure why in the world I did that. I was ordering 80/20 and I was building the dinette thing, and I was like, I'll make a drawer out of it. It's totally overkill. I don't think it's lighter than a box made out of half-inch plywood. And it limited where I could put the drawer slides a little bit. So the bigger problem though was, if you recall, I had push to open drawer slides. The backstory on that is that I actually bought some drawer slides that were the wrong length for something else, and I had messed with them and scratched them up, and I thought, oh, this would be a great spot for push to open drawer slides. And it's a little hard to put a latch on this like the other drawers because of this bar here. So I thought, perfect, I'll just use it in here. And remember those two really bumpy roads? Up until that point, it had been doing pretty well, but once I got into some really rough roads that really bounced the trailer around, it came loose. And I don't know if you can see this, but it's a little dusty, but these drawer slides, the mechanism is this little plastic part right here. And when this goes back, it's supposed to latch. This one still works, I think, for the most part. You'll see this thing latches. Well, it's not very strong, and it eventually broke. And I can't find push to open drawer slides that don't have plastic things like this. So I really don't think this solution is going to work. So what I'm going to do, instead of use these, is I'm going to make a traditional drawer box out of 1/2-inch plywood, and then just move this drawer face right here onto that box, put it on with regular soft close hinges like I have on the other cabinets, and put a little push to latch drawer slide, latch onto the cabinet, and it'll match the rest of the trailer. So that did not work. So push to open on at least side facing drawers, not a good idea. Now, if you recall on my initial tour video, I have push to open drawers on the side of the kitchen right by the door. There's two small ones, and there's the one with the refrigerator. And the refrigerator one we latch with a little eye hook when we're driving, and that one has held up. But this experiment has not made me believe that long term those drawer slides are going to work for the refrigerator. Even though we don't let it move around as much when we're driving, I have a feeling they're not going to hold up with the wear and tear. In the meantime, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. I really don't want to go to any kind of latch. I feel like that push to open is a great solution. So if anybody knows of any push to open drawer slides with a metal mechanism or something a little more sturdy, I'm all ears. The two upper drawers that are smaller are fine. They work just great. They don't have much weight in them, and I don't think there's as much front to back jostling as there is side to side to dislodge them. So failure number one, I'm going to come back another day and build a box, and we'll install that and fix that problem. All right, so there is the finished drawer in with a latch. Looks pretty good, I think. Just pop that, pull it out just like the other ones. It's a wooden box. I think has a little more space because you don't have that big 1-inch aluminum around it. But I cut some dados and put in these dividers to help organize things inside. We'll see if that's useful or not. Just a comment on these latches. They're plastic. You know, you can buy these like this for marine uses that are, you know, $20 to $25 a piece, and they're going to be a little bit better quality. These are 10 for like under 50, so less than $5 a piece. And once they're installed, they're honestly, they're not bad. And I like them, but since I use 1/2-inch faces just to save weight, you do have to space them out. And then I'll throw up on the screen, I took a picture of it, but you have to use a 20mm Forstner bit, so you have to use a special one for these. And even with that, sometimes the hole's a little bit loose and it'll want to pop out. I have a video, I'll throw it up here in just a second, that shows it popping out. And then all you got to do is wrap it once with just plumber's tape, and then they'll stay in really well. They won't come out. In fact, I don't even know if I could get it out at this point. So that's that. That problem is solved for sure, I think. No more sideways facing push to open drawers, unfortunately, as much as I liked them. All right, so right now we're going to talk about these storage nets that I covered in the very first video. When I first got these, let me see if I have one here. It's loose. They're coming off anyway. When I first started, I used these little cable ties that you see that you just get at the hardware store to tie these down, and they were clearly not up for the job. They broke pretty quickly. So what I did instead was I got some of these heavier duty coax cable ties I found on Amazon that are just way thicker. And they're still a nice white color, so they should blend in pretty well. Eventually I'm going to trim this out in aluminum to kind of match this, but it was one of those things that just wasn't critical, so we could get out in the in the summer and enjoy the trailer. So some of this trim work I'll come back and do, and then these holes that I've made are going to get covered up. Now these ties have this brass screw, but I'm going to be throwing them on the ground and replacing them with just a simple number 6 wood screw, just because I think it's a little cleaner to not have that big brass thing sticking up. So all we're going to be doing is taking these out on all the shelves and replacing them with these. Nothing real complicated, but it's one of those things you learn, you do something, doesn't work, got to try something different. So let's go ahead and do it. And there we go. That should be a lot stronger. Now, I'm not going to make you watch me do the rest of these, but figured I'd cover that just because it's something simple that I thought would work and obviously didn't. And I think anybody who tries to build one of these is going to run into minor things like that, where they're going to have to go back and make an adjustment or pivot and do something a little bit different. All right, here's a dumb one. This was just an oversight on my part. The edge of the subfloor in the trailer is exposed at the end, obviously. I mean, it was just this plywood extending throughout the trailer when I first bought it, and I put the floor down, and then I never finished this edge, and that was dumb because I had this little extra piece and I'd always planned on it, and off it came. So anyway, what we're going to do right now is we're going to go cut a piece of aluminum to trim that out. Safety glasses, important all the time, but really important when cutting metal. There we go. So, where'd my line go? There's my line. I'm just gonna cut it off. So, to put these in, we're gonna drill a hole, small hole with this, and then I'm gonna use these self-tapping sheet metal screws. They'll hog out the wood a little bit, but they hold really well. And actually the main reason I'm using them is because I just wanted a pan head, and they're the only ones I had that were pan heads. So, here we go. And there we have it. Now this thing's not going to get torn up, and it's going to hold up really well. And I don't have to worry about damaging my floor or ripping up any more of the floorboards, and that little piece is now trapped. So we're all good. So this one is kind of a big deal. This is my water tank. It's mostly empty. You can see it. That's actually about a third full, I guess, right now. And I mounted this up with these duct straps, and I kind of knew when I did that it wasn't the best solution. So I've been watching it before every trip. And we, you know, as I mentioned, the last few trips have been pretty rough roads. And when we got up to our campsite, I came in here and looked at it, and sure enough, you can see this strap is starting, let's see if I can move this just a little bit, is starting to tear a little bit where it's strapped in. So not the best design on my part, and I kind of knew that. So I'm going to come in and reinforce this. Now I'm just going to use some scrap aluminum extrusion flat bar that I have to build a bracket to hold this in place. My long-term solution is actually different. One of the things that after building this, even though I'm really happy with my cabinet, my drawers and storage back here, I put this water tank on the right side of my trailer, which is on the same side as my refrigerator and kitchen. They're all kind of in line. And my intuition told me maybe not the best idea, but I did it anyway. You know, I don't know why. And indeed, I'm pretty sure the trailer's a little weighted to the right. So what I'm going to do eventually is actually tip this tank on its side, and then my drawers here are still going to be fine. But I'm going to have to build a new box. And when I do that, you know, the drawers will get kind of shifted around a little bit when I lay it on its side. But when I do that, I'll be able to build a place kind of maybe on the side here or somewhere built in, because that's a little taller than these when it's on its side, maybe below. A quick disconnect for the water fill so that I don't have to use this hose to fill it up, have it always connected, and I can just have a quick disconnect right here. And then a port for an outdoor shower, which I've always said I was going to eventually do. So that's going to eventually happen. In the short term, I just got to make sure that thing doesn't fall over. That would be an epic disaster. And this was poor design on my part. One of those things that I knew I needed to fix, and I kept putting it off. And then a couple of rough roads made it like we got to do it now. So let's get to that. So you just missed a whole lot of me screwing these things together and filing sharp edges so they wouldn't fit. This is literally, I think, the jankiest thing I've built in a long time. But remember its purpose. It's a short-term solution. It's just there to hold this thing in place for the rest of the summer. And then eventually I'm going to make that back area even better. So let's go see if it fits. All right, it fits like a glove. I mean, maybe it's like an OJ glove or something. It's not perfect, that's for sure. It's, like I said, a bit janky, but it's gonna hold this thing in place. It's not going anywhere for the time being, that's for sure. And I don't really have to worry about it. So, problem solved. So this one is kind of interesting. This is the, you can see back here, the plywood that is the sheathing for the inside of the trailer. And then I've got my cedar over it. And then there's a 1/4-inch piece of plywood that these little Subway tile stickers are on. And after, 10 trips and a couple of really rough roads, we got to our last spot and my trim had popped out that I had here. And what I discovered, I started pushing right here, and this you can even see, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, I don't think you can, but this area here is even moving. And down here, so I must have been missing, or there wasn't enough screws right here for this bit of sheathing to hold it in place. The cabinet is anchored back under here to the wall. I really couldn't get to a stud right here because the stud is right at the front. There is a gap here. This part of the wall was not square, so it's wider at the top here and narrower at the bottom. And at one point I was going to fill it in, but I actually thought it allowed airflow back here because my refrigerator is underneath, back under this drawer. So anyway, it's anchored back a little bit and it's pulling on that wall. So what I need to do is just take a sheet metal screw and screw it in. That's it. I'm gonna just do that. And then you can see that actually it had managed to pull away my liquid nails that I put for these other ones, which I had is a little surprising because that liquid nails is pretty strong. Though I'll be honest, I don't fully follow the instructions when I put this stuff up. I don't let the glue get tacky first as long as I should. I just kind of put it up there. Since I'm nailing it in, and everywhere else it's been fine. They're on there good. I probably just didn't really get this one that well. This one was never nailed, and so it probably bulged out after I put it up there. So we're gonna go ahead, get that screw in there, and then we will get that reattached, and it should be good for an extended period of time. I don't think it's going to be a problem. In case you're noticing, people have asked about my counters here. The counter is just one of those stick-on, like heat laminated countertops that you just put over a piece of plywood. I was originally going to do something different up here, and I did this as a temporary solution, and we liked it well enough that it's just going to stay for a while. So, yeah, in case you're wondering, I'll put a link to that as well. So they're up, solid and in place, not moving. I nailed it with just my pneumatic finishing nailer, brad nailer, and I didn't film it. I couldn't hold this. I'm filming it with my phone because I couldn't really work right here with the camera and get it the right angle. So I couldn't really do it both with one hand, doing each. Very well. This piece split a little bit right there, so I put another one up, nail up higher. We'll see if that starts to cause a problem. If not, I might have to cut another piece when I get some more cedar to finish the nose part in the bathroom where the wires were running. I still haven't done that, but it's up there nice and solid. So that's that. It's been a few days since I started this video. Just been doing projects as I have time and filming them for you. So I don't know if this was worth it to people. I think that a lot of people see a project like this and think, I can't do that, or that's too big of a project. And you just kind of have to expect that certain things you try aren't going to work and be ready to redo them. I sometimes get asked by people, how do you know how to do all this stuff? And the truth of the matter is I really don't know that much a lot of times before I start. I just always tell them that I'm not afraid to start a project, that I don't know how I'll finish it. And as things come up, you figure them out. So the little things to hold the nets in place is a perfect example. I thought those little ties were going to be a perfect solution, and they clearly did not hold up. And I now think the new ones are going to be more durable and they'll work. And if for some reason they don't work, then we'll try something different. Anyway, if you have any other questions or comments, leave them in the comment area. And again, any product that I used, I'll try to link to it. I did get a lot of stuff on Amazon. Quite frankly, Amazon's great for the hard to find stuff and the off the wall things. But the hardware store is just as effective, and you don't need to use the links I have, but if there's something you're looking for, and we talked about it, then you can check them out in the links. I think sometimes we get overwhelmed with Amazon links on YouTube, and for a build like this, you almost need Amazon for some of it because it's so hard to find elsewhere, and it's just so convenient, and it shows up within a day or two. But lean on your local hardware store, especially if you have one that's locally owned. All right, thank you very much, and again, please subscribe. Hit the little bell button so you hear about any new videos, and I'm going to try to keep putting things up. I'm going to do one here pretty soon on the what I use to stain and finish everything in the trailer. So, thank you very much.